Hey guys, this week's video is dedicated to the complete recovery of Masha Bas Ben Sheva. This week's Torah portion, Parsha Bo, we finally have the exodus of the Jewish people from Egypt. But before they leave, Moshe commands them that they have to take a sheep and keep it in their home for 4 days, and on the 4th day, they're going to bring it as the Pesach sacrifice. Why? What's the connection bringing it into the home, keeping it there for 4 days? What does that have to do with leaving slavery and becoming a free people? Because you see, Egyptians at that time, they worshipped the sheep. It was a sacred animal. And the Jewish people who had been steeped in this culture, some of that paganism and idolatry had seeped into them as well. They absorbed some of it. And God was telling them, if you want to leave slavery behind, you want to become free, then you have to take that which has been holding you back, that which has enslaved you, and get rid of it. You might be more comfortable with it. They were used to idolatry. That's what they had known for so many years. It was against the law to do anything to the sheep. It would take a lot of guts for the Jewish people to bring that as a sacrifice. And yet they did it. Because God said if you want to be free, then you have to leave behind that which is holding you back. We all have stuff in our life that holds us back. We all have our own personal Egypts. That which prevent us from, that which enslaves us and prevents us from growing to our full potential. It could be our phone addictions. It could be our chase for money. It could be a toxic relationship. There are so many things that might be a weight on our ankle holding us back that we have to let go in order to grow. Even if that's what we're used to. Even if that's what's more comfortable to do, in order to grow, we got to take that step. To be free means to leave that which is enslaving you behind. I want to share with you a story that I heard from a colleague this week. Amazing story. Rabbi Shlomo Halberstam was the Baba of Rebbe. In 1946, after World War II, he had lost everything in the war. His wife and children had been murdered at Auschwitz, and he came to New York with nothing. Not a penny, nothing. All his followers, whoever was left from the Babaver dynasty, were stuck in Europe still. He came to the Lower East Side, and he decided he had to make it his mission to bring over these refugees. Can you imagine? After everything they'd been through, they had no home. Their home was destroyed. Their families were lost, and they had nowhere to go. No country would let them in. There were strict restrictions at that time in America with who could immigrate to the U.S. He was told that if you want to get anything done, you got to speak to Congressman Saul Bloom. Saul Bloom was a New York congressman, a really powerful congressman. He was the chairman of the Foreign Affairs Committee, and he was in charge of the Immigration Task Force. And they said, you got to speak to him, but know that this guy's a law and order guy. He's a stickler for the law. If you tell him anything against the law, he will throw you out. This guy had taken a lot of flack, Saul Bloom, from the Jewish community for not doing enough for the Jewish people during World War II. He was a huge proponent of FDR's restrictions on immigration. In fact, he was the U.S. representative to the Bermuda meeting in 1943 with Britain to discuss happening to the Jews, and nothing came of it. So it was a tough task ahead of him, but he said he had to give it a shot. It took him 6 months to make a meeting with Saul Bloom. They gave him 5 minutes. He came down to D.C. He came early to make sure he was there on time. He waited over 2 hours. They finally let him into the office, and Rabbi Halberstam says that Saul Bloom didn't even look up. He was just being busy with the stuff on him. Finally, he looked up and said, "Who are you?" Rabbi Halberstam said, if I would have told him that I'm Shlomo Halberstam from Galicia, that would have been the end of it. I had to get his attention, so I said, "Mr. Congressman, I am a lawbreaker." He looked at me in shock and demanded, "Explain yourself." And I said, "Mr. Congressman, where I'm from, the law was that Jews had to go to Auschwitz and go into the gas chambers and die. My wife and children followed the law. Where I'm from, the law was that you were not allowed to hide in the forest. The law was that you were not allowed to help other people hide or smuggle yourself out of the camp. Mr. Congressman, I am a lawbreaker. I broke every single law. That is why I'm standing here before you alive. Mr. Congressman, you're wondering why I'm telling you this. Because, Mr. Congressman, right now in Europe, you have hundreds of thousands of refugees who have nowhere to go. And they need your help in order to get into the U.S. And you're going to say, oh, you're going to quote me that the law doesn't allow them to come in. I'm going to tell you I don't care because I'm a lawbreaker. And then he broke down crying. When he looked up, he saw that the congressman was extremely moved. And he told the congressman, a law where you get killed just for being a Jew is a law meant to be broken. And the rest is history, as they said. Congressman Saul Bloom, together with the Baba Rebbe, helped boatloads of Jewish immigrants sneak into the US on weekends to the Brooklyn Navy Yard, where Saul Bloom stamped them for entry, even though it wasn't allowed. He secretly stamped them from entry. Hundreds and hundreds of Jewish people whose descendants are in the thousands. They were lawbreakers. Sometimes we got to leave behind that which is holding us back. Shabbat Shalom.